foes and weed smoke. Butterfly doors, mink coats, and clean clothes. Shit, that's all a nigga knows. Sliding, dipping on 84s, wrapped in bows. Cold, I'm too froze, so part in my rose gold. Bank rolls and city lights, living that life, so we going hard like every night. That's every night. Stuntin', flexing, I'm on, nigga. Green gang supreme, don't get it wrong, nigga. Hold on, nigga.
What's good, amazing fam? I want to welcome you back for another episode of the It's So Amazing podcast. I'm your host, Boss The Truth, and if this is your first time tuning in, you can catch us every week on your favorite podcasting app. And if you want to catch the video version of this podcast, you can catch it on my YouTube channel. That's Amazing Films, AMAYESN Films, and that's where you can check out the video version of this podcast. So let's get straight into it, man. 50 Cent and Young Buck. Now, over the last year, probably year and a half, 50 Cent and Young Buck has been going back and forth with in court litigation. So, if you don't know, well, you should know. Young Buck used to be signed to G Unit Records when 50 Cent first came out. They had a fruitful relationship, friendship, business relationship. Everything was peachy. And then 50 Cent did what 50 Cent always do. He rubbed people the wrong way. So G Unit kind of disbanded and there was no more G Unit. It was really just 50 Cent, Lloyd Banks, and Tony Yayo. And but I want to say around 2014 at a Summer Jam festival, 50 Cent decided to bring the G Unit crew back together. And this was a very exciting time for me. I still remember where I was when this happened. I was sitting on the couch at our apartment, and when they came out together, because it was a rumor that 50 was going to bring them out, but didn't nobody really know if this was going to actually happen. And then when they first came out, I swear I had my laptop on my lap, and when I seen all them niggas came out, I just jumped up like, let's go! Like, I was super happy when they had got back together. After they got back together, they put out 2 EPs. One was The Beauty of Independence. The other one was called The Beast. Those are 2 great EPs by G Unit. And during that time, 50 had added a new member to G Unit, which was Kid out of New Orleans. And he it felt like it was kind of weird to add him to the group, but he did fit. Once you hear the songs and hear him on there, it fit right in. But to get back to 50 Cent and Young Buck, man, around that same time, when he brought G Unit back together, he gave Young Buck a solo deal. He gave him $250,000 for a 2-album deal. Again, 50 Cent doing what 50 Cent always do. That relationship kind of soured, so we never got the Young Buck albums. But he did get that money up front for 50 Cent for 2 albums, so he never delivered those albums. Fast forward to now, they been in court litigation. 50 want his 2 albums or his money back. Now, 50 and Buck have a sort of a love-hate relationship because this is not the first time that 50 done loaned him money or paid his taxes. He done did all this kind of shit. Recorded secret phone calls of him on the phone with Young Buck crying. All kind of sucker shit. But I wish they could come to an amicable place and let bygones be bygones and move on and move forward. I hate seeing 50 Cent and Young Buck keep going through this back and forth. Now, also, while this was happening, Young Buck done had allegations of being caught with a transgender woman and things of that nature. And you knowing the jokester that 50 Cent is, he's going to joke about that. He's going to poke at Young Buck on Instagram and make fun of Young Buck's situation. So there's some tension right there that I know that's happening between Young Buck and 50. But at the end of the day, these are 2 grown men. I feel like they can come to a resolution and squash this. And I just want to ask the question, why won't 50 let this go? Now, Law 15 in the 48 Laws of Power is crush your enemies completely. Now, like I said at the beginning, 50 Cent and Young Buck was once friends. Like, they really fuck with each other. They loved each other. They was brothers. They call each other brothers. They made millions of dollars together. I don't see how you can go sour with a person that you once called friend, but now that I'm thinking about it, that's bullshit. I do I do see how you could go sour. Speaking from my own personal situations. But I want 50 and Buck to put this shit behind them and try to come to some kind of resolution. Now, another thing I want to know is, does friendship and business work together, or does it mix together? You see a lot of people get into business with people that they once called their friends or brothers or sisters or whoever, family. You know, a lot of people like to throw that family word around. You see a lot of people go into business together, and 9 times out of 10, it never really works out in the end. And I just want to know, why is it that once money gets involved, people don't know how to act, and these relationships kind of sour to a bad note? Now, you do have some examples of people that were friends that still remain to be friends and still doing business to this day, but the majority of people that are friends or something and they get into business together, it never works. And I just want to know why, because y'all already have a solid foundation of being friends, and knowing each other and knowing what ticks and talks people, make people irk people and stuff like that. So it should be a no-brainer to be able to come together as friends, as family, to get this business and to make money together. It's better to get it with the family, to get it with somebody that you can't really trust or don't really know. So I want to know, do y'all think it's kind of a bad thing for friendship and business to commingle and intermix with each other? And lastly, before we get off this topic, do y'all think 50 and Young Buck can get to some kind of compromise? Maybe Buck can give him one album and maybe half the money or something like that. I don't know what it is. And to be quite frankly, I really don't think 50 even, well, I know for a fact 50 really doesn't even care about the money or about Young Buck delivering that album. 50 is just a petty nigga where he's gonna fuck with people whenever he can and whenever he feel like it. That's just the person he is. That's the character he is. That's how he's always been. And over the years, when it first happened, I know a lot of people that really fuck with 50, they always sided with 50. But as the years go on, you kind of look at 50 and be like, come on, bro, you got to grow up at some point, bro. You can't be doing this silly ass, childish ass shit on and on and on. Like, at some point, you got to be men. And if you don't want to fuck with Buck, let Buck go, bro. Like, you not hurting for $250,000. And at the same time, don't nobody want to hear a Young Buck album, so why do you want him to deliver a Young Buck album to begin with? Let him go. Let him do his independent stuff. Don't make him file for bankruptcy, which Young Buck has filed for bankruptcy. And that's why 50 is suing him and going to court, because 50 is like, hey, before y'all do all this, make sure I get my cut off top. And it's just like, come on, bro. Like, you done made this guy file for bankruptcy. You done smutted out his name and his reputation. It's like, what else does he have left? But going back to what I said, 48 Laws of Power, Law 15, crush your enemies completely. So I hope 50 and Buck can come to some kind of resolution and be amicable and just let bygones be bygones and move on in a more strategic way. Speaking of moving in a more strategic way, let's talk about R.Kelly, the Pied Piper, the king of R&B. He goes by many names, but right now he is fighting for his life in jail right now. So everybody know back in the early 2000s that R. Kelly had a court case where he was being accused of sleeping with underage girls and things of that nature. If you saw the tape, you saw the tape. I'm going to leave that there. But R. Kelly was acquitted of those charges. He was found not guilty. And that was the end of that. And you would think that after that, R. Kelly would kind of learn his lesson and kind of move more strategically and more smarter when it comes to messing with these girls that's quite underage or kind of too young for Robert Kelly. But he didn't learn. Even after the case going on and on, you still keep getting allegations. They said he was locking girls up in his mansion and kind of in a dungeon situation, like he was sex trafficking and things of that nature. And it's kind of crazy because at the same time, this time, a lot of these women were of age. Some of them saying they was willing participants. They was living with R. Kelly on their own volition. And I just think it's crazy when you lock people up and you just don't want your name tied to sex trafficking, especially as a man. But here we are, R. Kelly is back here again with some shit that shouldn't be tied to his name. Now, I want to pose a question. Is it over for R. Kelly? Some people say it's been over for R. Kelly. Some people still believe R. Kelly should be free. He's innocent. He didn't do these charges or allegations that he's being accused of. And some people are on the fence. They don't know who to believe or who to trust. Me personally, like I said, if you watch the tape, you watch the tape. What he was accused of back then, he did do, but he did get off. So, hey, who am I to say what should or shouldn't happen? Now, these new allegations about sex trafficking and locking girls up and keeping them away from their family, I don't know what is what. I don't know if they was willing participants. They wanted to be there. He was taking care of them. They wanted to live the rock star lifestyle. Who am I to judge? But at the same time, I feel like the court system and is trying to come back and get R. Kelly because they didn't get to get him the first time when he was first tried. Just like they did OJ. When OJ got off, when the glove didn't fit, they must have quit. He got off. But years later, they end up getting him for stealing his own memorabilia back, and that's how they got his ass. So I feel like they kind of in a witch hunt to get R. Kelly and make any kind of allegation stick, because they even bringing up old shit about him marrying Aaliyah when she was underage, talking about he got Aaliyah pregnant, all kind of shit. It's another underage girl coming out. It's just a lot of stuff that's coming out, and it's like, damn, bro, you didn't learn your lesson. And that's the scary thing, because when you hear a lie, I ain't gonna say a lie, when you hear an accusation about somebody, it's kind of easy to just brush that off because it's like, nah, he wouldn't do that. But when you just keep continuously hearing stuff over and over about a guy, you kind of have to actually think, is this guy capable of what they saying that he's doing? Now, I want to know, and I want y'all to let me know in the comments, should they be allowed to include Robert Kelly, R. Kelly's past, with these new allegations? Me personally, I'm going to say yes and no. I say yes because your past speaks to your character and how you was moving back then, but at the same time, a person can change and learn and grow from their mistakes. So I really don't think they should be able to use his past transgressions against him in today's 2022 landscape. So, but they are trying to use what he did back in the day to hang him. Now, he's fighting a life sentence. The prosecutors is trying to get him some lethal time in the jail system. His lawyers is trying to fight this, and they're kind of denying all the allegations that's coming out with R. Kelly to begin with. They saying he did not commit these crimes, and it's just pretty much a witch hunt at this juncture. Me personally, I feel like the girls that they say he quote unquote sex trafficking, I do feel like they were willing participants. They was there on their own free will. Now, but at the same token, when it comes to R. Kelly and you hear some of this stuff that's going on, you kind of got to look at it with a side eye, because it's like, damn, bro, why you back in the news again messing with women when you shouldn't be doing this. You supposed to be moving with grace, with such a high stature and person that you are. You're the king of R&B. Nobody's done it better than Robert Kelly. I don't care what you say. You can feel how you want to feel about him, but at the same time, come on, bro. You got to do better. You got to move smarter. And I don't know, man. But it just really irks me because I hate when artists get caught up with allegations or people are smutting out their name and throwing dirt on their name and stuff like that. And it's just like, people have to learn at some point that you have to move smarter. You have to be more strategic. You can't put yourself in certain situations that's going to hinder or make you look bad or funny in a light. You just can't do that, bruh. And R. Kelly hasn't learned. So at the same token, I can't really feel sad or mad about the situation that he's in because he put himself in this situation, and the only person that can get himself out this situation is him and his lawyer, if he got a good lawyer team to help him lighten the load or lighten the sentence or whatever they gonna do. I don't know what kind of defense they gonna have. Hopefully they got enough evidence that can prove that he did not commit these crimes, but it's not really looking good for that boy Robert Kelly, and it's looking like a dead man walking at this point. Speaking of a dead man, XXXTentacion, he has a new album that's finna come out. And if you've been following me on my YouTube page, I done did countless videos about artists that's done passed away steady releasing music. And it was more to the effect of their family or a state or a label continuing to put out music even though this artist is no longer here to give a blessing on this music. And I just feel like it's a money grab at this point. When is enough gonna be enough when it comes to XXXTentacion and his music? When they put out that last project after he died, they said that was the last of his songs that they had. Now they scraping shit together piece by piece trying to make some new songs. I don't fuck with that shit, bruh. He didn't have that many songs to begin with, so why are they gonna put these songs together and try to get some more money, pull on the fans' heartstrings and stuff like that to be like, oh, we just clamoring for some new XXX. Like, no, bro. Like, let that man rest. Now, I want to know how the fans feel when it comes to these situations. When you have an artist that you love, that was your favorite artist, that's all you listen to, or that was the majority of the person that you listen to, when they pass away, do you feel conflicted? Do you still want to hear music even though you know they didn't get a blessing for that music? Or do you side kind of on the way that I side, which is just let them rest, man. This ain't the good look. Don't be trying to whore out somebody and get a cash grab because you know the fans is going to want new music and they clamoring for new music to begin with. I think people should kind of respect the dead, bro. Like, stop whoring out these artists for these little pennies and dimes. Like, XXX been gone for at least probably 4+ years, 5+ years already, and his music is still streaming extremely well. Same as Juice WRLD. Juice WRLD been gone for at least 3 or 4 years. His music is still in the top 10 to this day, and his fans are still clamoring. Now, Juice WRLD is another topic because he did record a lot of music, so they do got fresh audio and fresh verses and fresh songs that they can release that nobody's heard. But at the same time, you have people leaking his music, and his label head, Lil Bibby, who is the CEO of the label that Juice WRLD is signed to, he's kind of conflicted because at one point they saying, oh, you just in it for the money, you just getting this for a money grab, but at the same time they begging him to drop new music from Juice WRLD. So which one is it? You can't say he's in it for the money, but at the same time you want him to put out the music. He do got to run a business, but at the same time, like I said, I just think once an artist pass away, there should be maybe one album after they pass away that comes out, and after that, it should be done. So, bro, you shouldn't keep going on and putting out albums and whoring out people's names and their legacy. You just watering it down at the end of the day. Let they work that they put out when they was here stand the test of time, and let that be the end of it. Now, I want to pose a question because I thought about this when I even wanted to talk about this subject. Should they create some kind of law for deceased artists, so once they pass away, the labels in the estate can't really whore out their music and their legacy and stuff like that? Me personally, I feel like they should do that. They already have a law created for like child actors, because back in the early 90s and 2000s, and even before the 90s, a lot of the child actors' family was receiving that money because they was actually kids. They didn't have no bank accounts in their names and stuff like that. They couldn't really sign no contract, so the parents had to sign off for them, and in return, they was receiving they check they was getting for that money. But the parents wasn't doing right by the kid actors, and they was blowing that money. Say a kid made $5-10 million before he even got to 18, 20. All that money is blown and gone away. So they end up creating a law. I think it's called the Coogan Law or something like that. Y'all can look it up. And I think they should try to create something in that same vein for artists that done passed away, because I don't think they should keep releasing music after the artist done went on to another place. I feel like it's a money grab. It's always going to be a money grab to me. I don't think anything can really come of it, because another thing a lot of people is not thinking about is sometimes when an artist is creating music and stuff, and they creating a lot of songs, they don't really want to put out some of those songs. They created those songs, and them songs didn't see the light of day for a reason. And now once they gone, you backdooring and coming out and putting out these songs that they didn't want people to hear in the begin with. Some of the songs wasn't finished, or they just didn't like that song. They might have had a certain energy or way of thinking when they created. They didn't want to put that energy out into the universe, but who cares? Let's get this money. That's how the labels is looking at it, and that's how some of the family is looking at it too. I don't like that, bruh. Like, stop whoring out these dead artists. Now, I know what I seen, I don't know if it's actually gonna come out. I seen some rumblings of them saying that Nipsey has a project coming. I don't really have a problem with that, because Nipsey hasn't put out any music, or his family or estate hasn't put out any music since he passed away. His debut project is the only project that's done came out since he been gone. He been gone for at least probably 3 or 4 years already too. So I kind of respect that. Give the fans one more last hurrah in that situation. But when it comes to a Juice WRLD, and especially XXXTentacion, bro, like, stop whoring these guys out. Speaking of getting whored out, let's talk about Monique, the comedian, the Oscar-winning actor, and D.L Hugley, the comedian. Monique and D.L Hugley has been in the news as of late. I guess they was on the same comedy build. They was on the same tour date, and they got into a kind of a back and forth about who was the actual headliner of the event. D.L Hugley said he was the headliner. Monique said, fuck out of here, I'm the headliner. You need to read your contract. My contract clearly states that I'm the headliner. And they just been going back and forth and being childish, but these are grown 50-plus-year-old people at the end of the day. Now, Monique has had it rough as of late in these last few years. She was suing Netflix for bias or not being paid what she thinks she was owed. A lot of the Hollywood entertainment business as a whole has kind of blackballed her and said she was difficult to work with. Now, I want to pose a question. Was Hollywood right? And I want to pose that question because the way Monique has been going about this whole situation, I wouldn't want to deal with a type of person that acts like this to begin with. Now, she's been calling D.L Hugley everything under the sun. She was talking about his daughter, who I think she was sexually assaulted. She was talking about his wife, all kind of shit. Talking about his dead father, all kind of shit. And I just want to know, when it's too far, and two, these are two grown ass people. Why are you even bickering? Or who cares who's the actual headliner? If you got paid to be there and y'all both got the money that y'all was supposed to get, y'all both got to do y'all sets and do the exact time that y'all was supposed to do, who gives a fuck at the end of the day, bro? Like, you supposed to be there to make people laugh and to collect your bag. Now, the big question that I don't know if a lot of people, well, I see a lot of people saying it, and this was my first thought when I even seen this shit pop up. Will 50 Cent regret advocating for her to begin with? Because 50 Cent in the last, I want to say, 3 months, he's been going to bat on social media for Monique and for Hollywood to let Monique back into the business. And he's been championing her, and it worked. He ended up getting her in his TV show, which I think she's going to be on a new season of BMF. He got, what's his name, Lee Daniels to apologize to her. He talked to Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry said he ain't got no smoke with her. He cool. So 50 Cent put his reputation and his name on the line for her. But the way that she's been moving and conducting herself, I feel like this is going to blow up in 50 Cent's face, and it's going to look real bad because on one end of the spectrum, 50, he's a troll, bro. He doesn't care. He's going to do what he's going to do, and he's always going to feel like he's got to come up on top of any situation that he's in. But at the same time, I feel like he's playing with fire because he's done win at women before, but I don't know how people would take it if he win at Monique after championing her to begin with. Now, me personally, I hope Monique and DL can stop this childish shit, and just like I was talking about 50 and Buck earlier, come to some kind of amicable situation where they can be good, move on, and move past this shit, because at the end of the day, they grown, they old, they both got their businesses, they both doing what they doing. Let's just move on, bro. Like, it's no point of all this back and forth bickering and stuff like that. And that's one of the things that I'm tired of. You don't never see any of the other people, quote unquote, the Caucasians, doing all this back and forth bickering over some bullshit. Like, it doesn't matter, bro. Like, at the end of the day, you want to put your best foot forward, put your best performance out there, let the fans eat that up and enjoy that, collect your bag, and get back to the house and relax. Now, before we move off this topic, I feel, and a lot of other people have the same sentiment, that Monique has been acting this way ever since she got with her new husband. Now, if you ever seen any kind of video between them, it is kind of weird. They always side by side with each other. Not saying they can't be side by side, but it's always feel like you have somebody being held captive and they can't really say what they want to say, or they been manipulated, so they just going with the flow. That's the kind of vibes that I get from her husband, and that's what a lot of people in the industry was saying to begin with. It's not really her that's the problem, it's her husband that's the problem, and he's the one that's putting a battery in her back to act like this. Because Monique, over the years, or even with her ascension when she was coming up, she was never this way. You never heard anything bad about Monique. You just knew that she was a a bad motherfucker when it comes to this comedy shit. And then people really found out her range when she won that Oscar for her role in the movie Precious. So you never really heard anything bad about Monique, but now as of late, that's all you can hear. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier when it comes to R. Kelly. When you keep hearing a certain narrative over and over and over, people have no point but to believe that narrative that's being passed around. When it just keeps going on and on and on, it must be some kind of truth to it to begin with. Now, before we get out of here, I want to ask the question of the week. And the question of the week is, why do people stay in toxic relationships? Now, the reason I bring this topic up, first and foremost, I want to say rest in peace to the rapper Trouble out of Atlanta. He was killed this week. And I also want to say rest in peace to, Metro Boomin's mother. She was also killed this week. And in both of these situations, the person or the victim was killed by their quote unquote partner, they lover, or the person that they was seeing. But in Trouble's defense, he was killed by the woman's ex-boyfriend, because he's a tender dick ass nigga. He broke into their apartment where Trouble and the young lady was asleep. He went in there, beat her up, fought with Trouble, had a scuffle, ended up shooting Trouble, and Trouble didn't make it out. And I just want to know, why do people stay in toxic relationships to begin with? I know a lot of people like to try to make relationships work that they don't have no business being in to begin with. But at some point you have to say to yourself, like, this shit don't work. I tried and tried. They not gonna change. And it is what it is. But I think that's the problem that a lot of people have. I feel like they think that person is gonna change and they finally gonna come around and be the person that they want them to be. But in the grand scheme of things, people don't change. People are who they are. And you just have to open your eyes and see it for what it is. Like, that person is never gonna be who you want them to be. Now, you might have that small subset of people that will get their act together and change for that person and change for the better because they really care about that person. They want to make it work. And that's the problem, because a lot of people wait for that small percentage, but it's not going to happen, bro. Move on. Find somebody else. It's a billion people out here, bro. Somebody out there for you. There's no need to be staying in a toxic relationship just because you just want to make this shit work and you don't see yourself being with somebody else. Stop trying to make shit work that don't work. It don't work, bruh. But that's the end of today's show. I want to say thank y'all. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to your boy for another episode of the It's So Amazing podcast. Like I said at the beginning, you can catch us every week, every Friday on your favorite podcasting app. And if you want to watch the video version of this podcast, you can catch it on my YouTube. That is Amazing Films, AMAYESN Films. You can catch the video version of this podcast. And I just want to say thank y'all. I really appreciate y'all for tuning in every week. The momentum has been great. I want y'all to keep it going. And yeah, man, I'll catch y'all next week. Oh, and like I said last week, if y'all want to hit me on my Instagram in the DMs and send me topics about stuff y'all want me to talk about, you can do so. My Instagram is Boss the Truth, BOSSTHATRUTH. That is my handle on Instagram. Shoot your boy DM about a topic that you want me to discuss. If I feel like I can or have any kind of opinion on that said topic, I will try to put it in the show notes so I can talk about it. But it is what it is. Thank y'all. I'll catch y'all next week. We out this thing. Peace.